New information on what's going on in the United CEO healthcare mystery. Okay, the police said as of this moment that they are closing in on the suspect. Now, a lot of people think that the NYPD is just trying to save face because they got ridiculed for admitting yesterday, yeah, guys, we don't know where he is, but he was an excellent shooter. However, there is even new up to the minute details. People are talking about the way that the industry has gone into hiding. On top of that, Anthem, the healthcare provider, reversed plans to put time limits on anesthesia coverage. And Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield halted anesthesia payment policy after the backlash. Y'all, the industry is shaken. We repeat, the industry has gone into hiding. They said major health insurance have deleted images of their leadership from corporate websites. However, this move is illegal. You are not allowed to have leadership. People are saying that they are going to use this CEO's passing as a way to literally put even a bigger veil of mystery, a bigger veil of silence, a bigger veil of corporate abuse on American citizens. And they're going to use this as the conduit. Listen to this report. Right? Major health insurance have deleted images of their leadership from corporate websites and are removing executive pages entirely following the brazen targeted killing of the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson earlier this week. Police have launched a manhunt for the suspect who gunned down a healthcare chief in, of course, New York. Now, UnitedCare healthcare boss Brian Thompson was fatally shot in the back on Wednesday morning outside of the Hilton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. Police say he was targeted in a pre-planned for which they do not yet have a motive. Now, listen, before we go on, we just have to say, what was the motive? Nobody knows. Some people say that this is someone that was denied healthcare for pre-existing. Some people say it was somebody's grandchild. Some people say that there was also something really going on in Brian Thompson's personal life. The day that he was actually deleted, 7 p.m., this happened at 7 a.m. That same day at 7 p.m., there was a threat of a bomb called into his house. They had threats to his children. Now, here's the thing. His wife and him have been estranged. So for the last 4 years, whoever targeted him must not have known the personal situation. But you have to wonder, is this an actual intentional hit hidden behind him being like an overseer of an industry that preys and exploits people's death, money, finances, time, and resources? On top of that, he was actually involved in a DOJ lawsuit because they had fleeced the company for tens of millions of dollars, then didn't tell stockholders and sold all their shares. It was actually pretty horrific. For everybody saying, oh my God, this is still somebody's, yes, our hearts go out to the family. But you have to actually take in the fact that when you deal in industries that literally deal in people's life and death, there must be fairness in your dealings. There must be compassion in your dealings. There must be empathy in your dealings. The same way with doctors, you must have fairness, empathy, and compassion. If you are not capable of those things, you need to get out the industry because this is what happens. This isn't somebody in a Twitter battle. This isn't like YouTube beef. This is real life things, life and death. People with the people they love more than anything, facing their mortality, all because an insurance company they pay faithfully is denying, deposing, depose, right? And deflect. They are doing everything they can. But let's get back to this story, right? Many of Brian Thompson's peers expressed grief over the fatal shooting. With the deletion also set off a morbidly gleeful celebration on social media. Posters on sites like X and Reddit applauded and joked about the crime to vent frustration and anger with health insurers. Again, I think that a lot of these people are looking at this wrong way. Yes, the healthcare company is going to try to use this to get even a bigger shroud of secrecy and use Brian Thompson's death, who they literally stepped over and still had the investor meeting, use this, okay, to gain more power. And power comes from being able to be hidden. But maybe this is a wake-up call America needs for us to get into some type of socialized medicine, some type of hybrid form. You should not have to die because you are poor. You should not have to die because you work every day, but you can't afford $2 million for treatment that overseas might cost $100,000 or $150,000. The fact that Congress, Senate, everybody lets these corporate vultures gouge on the flesh of the American society is disgusting to me. Now, the shooting and subsequent reaction has spurred healthcare companies to increase security around their executives, according to multiple reports. Following the deletion of the CEO on Wednesday morning, United Healthcare removed the page from its website listing the rest of its executive leadership. Wouldn't it be funny if they sat there and said, maybe we should stop being, right, like mercenaries, and maybe we should actually start having fairness and transparency in our dealings. According to a report in Healthcare Drive, the United Healthcare's parent company, United Health, quickly removed its executive leadership page after Brian Thompson's passing. Some of his peers have followed suit. Elevance's senior leadership page is no longer online. The report suggests that executive pages from a number of Blue Cross Blue Shield plans, including in North Carolina and Massachusetts, have also been deleted. However, the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association and Association of Independent Blue Plans removed a link to its executive bios from its About Us page. Blue branded plans operated by Anthem were embroiled in a social media firestorm stoked by Brian Thompson's death this week as commenters slammed an upcoming coverage policy to curtail anesthesia coverage for certain surgeries. Some posts threatened Blue executives unrelated to the change. The parent company canceled the policy rollout on Thursday, citing significant widespread misinformation, according to Centene and CVS, who owns Aetna. And they have left executive biographies intact, but removed headshots of their officers. Listen, let me just say this. Delay, deny, depose is the way they did business. The funny thing is, and as sick as and as morbid as it sounds, and yes, my heart goes out to his family. He was estranged from his wife, though. Let's be real. His death literally caused this policy that healthcare was no longer going to provide anesthesia in surgeries to be paused and rolled back. Because of this, hundreds, maybe even thousands of people were able to go for a surgery that previously was denied because they couldn't afford the $5,000, $8,000, $10,000, or $15,000 that was necessary to pay an anesthesiologist to go to sit under complicated surgery. Again, you guys, what do you think? We know the industry is shaken. We know the industry is in hiding. And we know the American government is sitting there twiddling their thumbs. And we know the American people have united left, right, front, and back. Enough with this healthcare. Enough. Something has to give. And I guarantee you something. It's not going to be the American people. Anyway, you guys. Anyway, for those that don't really know what I'm referring to, listen to this TikTok. I think it has some valuable information, and I think it explains what the country is going through.
To their murdered CEO, and 62,000 people laughed at the tribute. I can explain why this happened. I can explain why that CEO was murdered in the first place. And while I'm at it, in this video, I'm also going to be explaining school shootings in America, depression rates, obesity rates, people believing in conspiracy theories, because there is a theme that runs through all of these things that connects them all, and it isn't being talked about nearly enough. The theme that links all of these social issues is income inequality. These arguments are based on this book, The Spirit Level, which was written by two epidemiologists. The reason that's important is because their argument is that inequality is not just an economic issue, it's actually a physiological issue. In other words, the stress that is put on human bodies from living in an unequal society leads to worse social outcomes across a whole range of areas, from rates of violence to road death rates to HIV rates. One of the things that inequality destroys is trust between human beings. It makes sense if you think about it. If the CEO of your health company is earning $23 million a year, but then denying you coverage when you desperately need it, you're not going to trust them. You're not going to trust in the system. This leads to a massive rise in people believing in things like conspiracy theories, because they have a feeling, probably rightly, that other people are out to get them, out to exploit them, and get more of their resources from them. So this graph shows the relationship between people saying most people can be trusted and income inequality in the US. And as you can see, there is a clear downward trend that as states become more and more economically unequal, the less people trust each other. States like Utah, which are fairly economically equal, have high levels of trust because people feel like they're not being exploited in the way that people feel, for example, in New York or Louisiana, in states that have higher levels of inequality and lower levels of trust. One of the interesting things about inequality is it doesn't just negatively affect people who are poorer, it also affects people who are wealthier. This also makes sense if you think about it. I'm originally from South Africa, and I know obviously the black South Africans who were exploited under apartheid feel a huge amount of stress as they try to chase after the resources that have been kept from them for so long. But rich white South Africans also feel a huge amount of stress, because if you live in a massively unequal society, you're also looking over your shoulder trying to make sure that the person who has less than you is not trying to take it from you. So everybody experiences that stress all along the social spectrum. Now, primates have evolved a mechanism for restoring equality when it has been disrupted. We see this in monkeys. If you give monkeys preferential treatment over other members of their troop, they will get more and more stressed and eventually will become violent to restore order. That's exactly what happened in this case with the murder of the CEO, is that more and more inequality is being piled up in the US healthcare system. CEOs are earning $20 million plus a year, over $100,000 a day, some of them. And people who are struggling feel more and more stressed and therefore are more and more likely to turn to violence to restore the balance. The United States is one of the most unequal countries in the world, and unfortunately technological advancements are accelerating that rate of inequality. So companies like Amazon can now compete with every mom and pop store on every high street in America using the internet, using their technological advantages. As that happens, more and more Americans have to work harder and harder to chase the so-called American dream, and it becomes more and more stressful to do so. As that happens, we see increases in all kinds of social problems. Even teenage pregnancy is associated with income inequality. The murder rate, rates of obesity, rates of depression, school shootings, as more and more stressed young people go into schools to get revenge on people that they feel unequal to. At the same time, big corporations are buying more and more politicians and stopping things like gun reform that most Americans want.
Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to you later. Bye.